There is a prison you entered long before you knew the word for it. No bars, no chains, no judge. Just a feeling, a hot pressure in the chest, a sudden tightening in the throat. The instinct to shrink, to go quiet, to apologize, to disappear before anyone sees what you fear is underneath. You call it insecurity. You call it anxiety. You call it being too sensitive. But Machiavelli would call it something far more dangerous: control. Because shame is not just an emotion, it is a leash. It is the invisible hand that trains you to betray yourself before the world even has to lift a finger. It decides what you say, what you hide, who you love, what risks you avoid, how small you make your ambitions so no one can laugh when you fail. It turns bold men into obedient servants and brilliant minds into silent ghosts. Entire lives are built around one pathetic mission: never be exposed. And the cruelest part is this: most people do not even know they are ruled by it. They think they are making choices. They are not. They are managing humiliation. They are negotiating with imagined judgment. They are kneeling before a courtroom that exists only in their own mind. Tonight, we drag that judge into the light. By the end of this, you will see shame for what it really is. Not a wound, not a weakness, a system of obedience installed inside your mind. You will understand why you over-explain, why you tolerate disrespect, why you hide your desires, why you sabotage yourself the moment visibility arrives. You will see how shame makes you police your own behavior, so the world barely has to control you at all. And more important, you will learn how to break its grip, not with comfort, not with affirmations, but with a colder method, a Machiavellian method. Because the moment you stop needing permission to exist, a strange thing happens. The people, rooms, and judgments that once ruled your life begin to lose their spell. The leash snaps. The performance ends, and the version of you that was buried under years of humiliation finally has room to breathe. Let's begin. Let us name the mechanism precisely. Shame is social pain turned inward until it becomes self-government. At first, it comes from outside: a parent's look, a teacher's contempt, a room laughing at the wrong moment, rejection, mockery, comparison. The message lands early, and it lands deep. Do not be too loud. Do not be too strange. Do not be too needy. Do not be too ambitious. Do not be too sexual. Do not be too emotional. Do not be too much. So you adapt. You edit yourself. You split yourself. One part becomes acceptable. The other part is thrown into the basement. This is how control is born. Machiavelli understood something most modern people are still too sentimental to admit. Human beings are easiest to rule when they fear exposure. A man who fears pain can still fight. A man who fears poverty can still gamble. But a man who fears humiliation will police himself. He will volunteer for his own imprisonment. He will obey invisible commands. He will stay in the relationship that insults him, at the job that drains him, inside the body language of apology, because deep down he believes the alternative is worse: to be seen, to be judged, to be revealed as insufficient. That is why shame is such a perfect weapon. It does not need guards. It does not need force. It makes you become your own guard. You stop yourself before anyone else has to. You silence your own mouth. You lower your own eyes. You betray your own instincts in exchange for social survival. And after enough years, you call that personality. You say, "This is just who I am." No, it is who shame trained you to be. And once this mechanism is installed, everything changes. Love becomes performance. Work becomes proof. Friendship becomes monitoring. Even solitude is poisoned because you carry the audience inside your own skull. You are never alone. The judges came home with you. So before we go any further, understand this clearly. The problem is not that you have shame. The problem is that shame has been writing your script. And from this point on, we begin taking the pen back. Chapter 1. The birth of the false self. Shame begins where visibility becomes danger. That is the first truth. Nobody is born ashamed of their own existence. Shame is learned through exposure. It enters when your natural expression meets punishment. You speak freely, and someone mocks you. You show emotion, and someone withdraws respect. You reveal enthusiasm, desire, softness, anger, confusion, need, and the world teaches you that certain parts of you are not safe in public. So, the mind does something cold and efficient. It creates a split. One self for display, one self for exile. This is the real birth of the false self. From that moment on, life becomes theater. You do not simply act, you manage perception. You study faces, you detect shifts in tone, you adjust your personality in real time to avoid disapproval. Around one person, you become agreeable. Around another, you become distant. In one room, you become funny. In another, you become invisible. People call this social intelligence. Sometimes it is, but very often it is not intelligence at all. It is fear with good manners. Machiavelli would see this immediately. He knew that appearances govern the world, but he also knew the danger of becoming enslaved to appearances. The weak man does not shape his image. He is shaped by the audience. His entire identity becomes reactive. He does not ask, "What do I want to express?" He asks, "What will keep me safe here?" He does not ask, "What is true?" He asks, "What will get me rejected less?" This is why shame is so corrosive. It makes survival feel wiser than honesty. It makes self-betrayal look like maturity. Look closely at your own habits, and you will see the fingerprints everywhere. The laugh that comes too quickly after someone insults you. The apology you give before you have even done anything wrong. The way you rehearse messages before sending them. The urge to explain yourself when nobody asked. The panic that rises when you imagine being misunderstood. None of this is random. It is the body trying to prevent social pain before it happens. It is your nervous system saying, "Hide first, reveal later, maybe never." And the tragedy is that the longer you live like this, the more the mask begins to eat the face beneath it. You forget what your unedited reactions even are. You no longer know whether your politeness is virtue or fear. You no longer know whether your restraint is discipline or suppression. You become fluent in acceptable behavior and illiterate in your own nature. This is why shame is not just an emotion, it is an architect. It designs a life built around concealment. It chooses your voice, your posture, your ambitions, your relationships. It tells you which dreams are too embarrassing to pursue and which wounds are too humiliating to admit. It trains you to believe that being fully seen is more dangerous than being quietly erased. And once a person accepts that bargain, power leaves their hands. Because anyone who can trigger your shame can control your behavior. Anyone who can make you feel exposed can make you submit, over-explain, retreat, or perform. That is why the first battlefield is not the world. It is visibility itself. The moment being seen feels dangerous. Your freedom is already compromised. Chapter 2. The architecture of internalized submission. The most obedient people are not controlled by force. They are controlled by anticipated humiliation. This is where shame becomes political. Not political in the shallow sense of governments and slogans, but in the older sense that Machiavelli understood better than most. Power is the art of arranging human behavior. And nothing arranges behavior more efficiently than the fear of social disgrace. A threat can make a person obey once. Shame can make them obey for life. Why? Because force has limits. A prison ends at the wall. A whip ends at the skin. But shame migrates inward. It becomes portable. A person carries it into every room, every conversation, every opportunity. No one has to monitor them because they monitor themselves. No one has to silence them because they silence themselves first. This is the dream of every manipulator, every tyrant, every cruel family system, every status game. Not open domination, internalized submission. Look at how early this mechanism appears. A child is not merely corrected. He is made to feel ridiculous. A girl is not simply guided. She is made to feel embarrassing. The lesson is never just, do better. The lesson is, something about you is unacceptable. So, the human mind, desperate for belonging, begins its secret bargain. I will betray parts of myself, if that buys me safety. I will amputate whatever makes the tribe turn cold. I will become easier to digest. And the tribe rewards this mutilation. The compliant person is praised as mature. The silent one is called easygoing. The one who never asks for too much is called low maintenance. The one who swallows insult without protest is called calm. But very often this is not peace. It is trained helplessness wearing elegant clothes. Machiavelli would not romanticize this. He would recognize that shame is one of the cleanest instruments of control because it does not look like control. It looks moral. It looks civilized. It looks like decency. That is why it survives. Nobody says, "I want to dominate you by making you doubt your right to exist." They say, "Be reasonable, be humble. Do not make it about you. Stop being dramatic. Read the language carefully, and you will see the blade hidden inside it." The goal is not truth. The goal is reduction. They want you smaller because smaller people are easier to place. This is also why many people remain loyal to systems that degrade them. The employee who never negotiates, the partner who accepts disrespect, the friend who becomes the permanent emotional servant. On the surface, it looks like passivity. Underneath it is often terror, not terror of pain, but terror of being seen as difficult, selfish, arrogant, needy, excessive, disloyal. Shame makes people confuse self-erasure with virtue, and this confusion becomes a lifestyle. You do not defend your boundaries because you do not want to look harsh. You do not claim credit because you do not want to look arrogant. You do not reveal desire because you do not want to look pathetic. You do not leave what insults you because you do not want to look like a failure. Every major decision gets filtered through one question. If I act, how humiliating might it be? Once that question rules you, you are no longer living strategically. You are living defensively. You are not building a life. You are minimizing exposure. And a person who lives that way can be led almost anywhere. All the manipulator has to do is imply disapproval. All the group has to do is threaten exclusion. All the room has to do is raise an eyebrow. Shame will do the rest. This is the ugly elegance of it. The cage is internal, so the cage looks like character. People say, "This is just my nature. I am reserved. I am careful. I am modest." Sometimes that is true, but often it is the vocabulary of domestication, a human being trained so thoroughly by anticipated humiliation that they now mistake fear for identity. And until that illusion breaks, freedom remains cosmetic. You can change cities, jobs, partners, even entire belief systems. But if shame still sits on the throne, the script remains the same. New room, same kneeling, new faces, same performance, new opportunities, same retreat. That is the second truth. Shame is not merely what you feel after being wounded. It is the mechanism by which the wound keeps governing you. Chapter 3. The Tyranny of the Untouchable. Image. One of shame's most effective tricks is that it does not always feel like shame. Sometimes it feels like perfectionism. You tell yourself you just have high standards. You want to get it right. You want the message to be precise, the work to be flawless, the timing to be perfect, the body to be improved, the plan to be complete. So, you delay, you refine, you prepare, you hesitate. And because all of this wears the mask of discipline, nobody questions it, not even you. But beneath that polished surface, there is often something much uglier at work, not devotion to excellence, fear of exposure. Perfectionism is frequently shame in ceremonial clothing. Because what are you really protecting when you cannot release the work, speak the thought, make the move, start the project, or show the desire until it is immaculate? Reputation, image, immunity from ridicule. You are not trying to create something great. You are trying to create something untouchable, and that is a very different motive. Greatness accepts risk. Shame demands armor. Machiavelli would have recognized the weakness in this instantly. A man obsessed with appearing flawless becomes easy to predict. He becomes slow, cautious, brittle. He loses initiative because he cannot tolerate the mess that real action requires. He would rather remain theoretically powerful than visibly imperfect. And so, while he is still polishing his mask, someone rougher and less ashamed takes the position, takes the room, takes the opportunity. This is how shame kills ambition, without ever calling itself fear. It convinces you that delay is wisdom, that caution is maturity, that endless refinement is professionalism. But look at the result. Months pass, years pass. The plan remains inside your skull, safe and sterile. Nothing enters the world. Nothing can be judged. because nothing was ever risked. You call this being careful. In reality, it is self-erasure with a high vocabulary, and it spreads beyond work. In conversation, perfectionism becomes over-editing. You do not speak naturally. You monitor every sentence to make sure it cannot be attacked. In relationships, it becomes emotional concealment. You do not reveal interest until certainty is guaranteed. In identity, it becomes chronic self-revision. You do not live, you curate. You keep adjusting the presentation of yourself so nobody can find the crack underneath, but the crack is always there, because human beings are not marble. They are contradiction, hunger, error, instinct, confusion, force. The more desperately you try to appear polished, the more fragile you become. One criticism can ruin your week. One awkward moment can haunt you for months. One failed attempt feels like a public execution. Why? Because when the image is everything, any imperfection feels like death. This is why shame and perfectionism produce such exhausted people. They are running an impossible operation. They are trying to gain freedom through image control, when image control is the prison itself. They are trying to earn the right to exist by becoming uncriticizable. But that right never arrives. The standard simply moves. The next room wants something else. The next audience finds a new flaw. The next comparison opens a fresh wound. Shame never says enough. It only says improve, hide, adjust, delay. And this creates a cruel cycle. The less you act, the less evidence you have of your real capacity. The less evidence you have, the more you cling to fantasy. The more you cling to fantasy, the more terrifying action becomes. Soon you are not protecting excellence at all. You are protecting a fragile self-image from contact with reality. You would rather dream of power than risk looking clumsy while building it. That is why perfectionism must be stripped of its false nobility. In many lives, it is not a virtue. It is a defense strategy invented by shame. The person is not asking, how do I do this well? They are asking, how do I avoid being seen in an unfinished state? But all power is built in unfinished states. Every competent person you admire once looked unpolished, uncertain, ridiculous, premature. The difference is that they tolerated visibility long enough to sharpen in public. Shame cannot stand that. Shame wants development in private and arrival without struggle. It wants the harvest without the vulnerable season. It wants mastery without ever being seen as an amateur, which means shame does not actually want growth. It wants dignity without risk. And that is a child's bargain. The adult bargain is colder. Be seen unfinished. Be seen learning. Be seen failing. Let the image bruise. Let the audience revise their opinion. Let them misunderstand. Let them smirk. Most of them are prisoners too, because the moment you stop worshiping an untouchable image, movement returns, energy returns, strategy returns. You begin to understand that power does not belong to the person who appears perfect. It belongs to the person who can survive imperfection without collapsing. Chapter 4. When shame enters intimacy. Shame does not only silence people, it chooses their relationships. This is where its control becomes intimate. A ashamed person rarely asks, who is good for me? They ask a more secret question. Who confirms the story I already carry about myself? That is why so many people do not merely tolerate disrespect. They are magnetized by it. It feels familiar. It feels earned. It feels aligned with the internal verdict they have been living under for years. They do not call it shame. They call it chemistry. They call it loyalty. They call it love. But what they often mean is recognition. The cold truth is that shame will make you feel more comfortable with contempt than with real regard. Genuine respect can feel unsettling when your inner world is organized around defect. Care feels suspicious. Praise feels temporary. Healthy attention feels like a mistake that will soon be corrected. But criticism, neglect, emotional unavailability, subtle humiliation, these feel strangely legible. They fit the script. They make sense to the wound. Machiavelli would understand this without sentimentality. People do not only seek pleasure, they seek coherence. They move toward what confirms their view of reality, even when that reality is poisonous. If shame has taught you that your needs are excessive, you will feel guilty every time you ask for something basic. If shame has taught you that your presence is a burden, you will overperform just to justify occupying space. If shame has taught you that love must be earned through usefulness, You will become a servant in every bond and call it devotion. This is how shame builds one-sided relationships. You become the one who understands, adjusts, forgives, explains, waits, absorbs, rescues, not because you are noble, but because you are terrified that demanding reciprocity will expose you as difficult. You keep offering more value than is being returned because somewhere beneath the performance is a bargain you may not even know you made. Maybe if I am useful enough, I will not be abandoned. Maybe if I am patient enough, I will not be judged. Maybe if I never become a problem, I will be allowed to stay. That is not love. That is negotiated worth. And manipulators can smell this immediately. They may not use the language of shame, but they understand its signals. The person who laughs after being insulted, the person who apologizes when disappointed, the person who explains their boundary instead of enforcing it, the person who asks for the minimum as if requesting a favor. These are invitations to exploitation. Not because the person deserves it, but because shame has taught them to send permission signals. It has taught them to announce, without words, that their self-respect is conditional and therefore available for bargaining. This is why some people keep repeating the same relationship in different bodies, different names, same dynamic. They think they are unlucky. They think the world is just full of selfish people. Sometimes it is, but often something else is happening. Shame is steering attraction toward familiar pain. It does not choose what is good, it chooses what is known. And what is known feels safer than what is healthy, because healthy attention threatens to expose how little you know how to receive without paying for it. Look at what shame does in conflict. Instead of asking, was that treatment acceptable? You ask, did I overreact? Instead of examining the other person's behavior, you place yourself on trial. Instead of protecting your dignity, you begin constructing a defense brief. You gather context. You explain their motives. You minimize the insult. You search for your part in it, because blaming yourself preserves the illusion of control. If it is your fault, then maybe you can fix it. If they are simply disrespectful, then you may have to leave. Shame would rather suffer than separate. That is why so many people remain emotionally trapped long after they have intellectually understood the pattern. Knowledge is not enough. A person can know they are being used and still stay, because the deeper fear is not mistreatment. The deeper fear is exposure. To leave means to confront loneliness, grief, anger, uncertainty, and the humiliating admission that you accepted less than you should have. Shame whispers that enduring the familiar is easier than facing that reckoning. But every day spent inside that arrangement trains the nervous system further. You become more careful, more adaptive, more split. Your true reactions retreat deeper underground. Soon, you are not only managing the other person, you are managing your own awareness. You stop naming what is obvious because naming it would require action, and action would require self-respect, and self-respect is exactly what shame has spent years weakening. This is why relationship change is impossible without shame collapse. Not confidence, not charm, not better communication scripts, something deeper. The destruction of the inner belief that you must earn humane treatment through usefulness, silence, beauty, patience, emotional labor, or endless understanding. The moment that belief cracks, your entire social world begins to reorganize. Some people disappear because your old compliance no longer feeds them. Some accuse you of changing because you did. Some call you cold because warmth is no longer available at your expense. Good, let them speak. Every structure built on your shame will shake when shame stops cooperating. That is not a loss. That is the first clean sign that your life is no longer being chosen by the wound. Chapter 5. The Collapse of the Inner Court. The final victory over shame is not healing. It is indifference to illegitimate judgment. That is the stage most people never reach because they are still negotiating with the audience. They want freedom, but they still want permission. They want self-respect, but they still want to be liked by the people who fed on their self-doubt. They want to live truthfully, but only if the room applauds. Impossible. Shame does not disappear while you are still asking your jailers to approve your escape. At some point, a colder realization must arrive. Not every judgment deserves entry into your mind. Not every opinion has authority. Not every accusation is insight. Not every raised eyebrow is a moral verdict. Many people judge not because you are wrong, but because your refusal to kneel disturbs the role they assigned you. Your growth embarrasses their stagnation. Your boundaries offend their convenience. Your silence frustrates their need for access. Their judgment is not revelation, it is reaction. Machiavelli understood that public opinion is powerful, but he also understood that power belongs to the person who can distinguish between useful perception and cheap noise. The weak man trembles before all judgment equally. He treats every criticism as sacred. He lets fools sit on the throne of his nervous system. One mockery can derail him. One misunderstanding can consume his day. One disapproving tone can send him back into apology. This is not sensitivity. It is undisciplined submission. The disciplined person does something else. He sorts, he weighs, he decides. Is this judgment coming from competence or pettiness, from care or envy, from truth or discomfort? Does it sharpen me or merely attempt to reduce me? He does not open the gates to every voice just because it arrived with confidence. He does not assume social pressure is wisdom. He knows crowds are often lazy, frightened, and cruel. He knows many moral performances are only disguised status games. He knows shame spreads fastest among people who have never questioned who benefits from it. This is where real separation begins. You stop treating visibility as danger. You stop assuming being misunderstood is fatal. You stop rushing to correct every false impression. You stop explaining yourself to those committed to misreading you. You stop defending your right to exist, to speak, to change, to withdraw, to outgrow old roles. Something inside you hardens, not into bitterness, into selectivity. And that selectivity changes everything. You speak more directly because you are no longer editing every sentence for universal approval. You move faster because you are no longer trying to guarantee immunity from embarrassment. You leave disrespect sooner because you no longer interpret your own discomfort as guilt. You become less available to manipulation because the old triggers no longer open the same doors. The shame still knocks sometimes. Of course it does. But now you recognize the voice. And because you recognize it, you do not obey it automatically. That is the difference between a person ruled by shame and a person who has outgrown it. The ruled person feels judged and collapses inward. The freer person feels judged and examines the source. Sometimes he adjusts. Sometimes he ignores. Sometimes he strikes back with distance, silence, or consequence. But he does not instantly put himself on trial. He no longer assumes the room is holy and he is guilty. This is the final lesson. Shame survives by convincing you that social discomfort means you have betrayed truth. But often, the opposite is happening. Often, the discomfort begins the moment you stop betraying yourself. The room tenses because the performance has ended. The people who preferred your hesitation call you arrogant. The people who benefited from your softness call you cold. The people who lived above you in the old order call you difficult. Good. Let them speak. Their language is not always law. Because in the end, shame only controls the life that still bows before unearned judgment. The moment you stop doing that, its empire begins to collapse, not all at once, but decisively. The old fear loses oxygen, the false self starts to starve, and the part of you that was hidden for years begins to stand in plain sight without apology. That is when your life finally stops being managed by exposure. That is when the audience loses its throne. That is when you become dangerous to every system that once depended on your silence. So now the pattern is visible. Shame begins when expression is punished. Then it deepens when you learn to split yourself into what is acceptable and what must remain hidden. After that, it becomes obedience. You start managing perception instead of living directly. You anticipate humiliation before it arrives, and that anticipation shapes your decisions more than truth, desire, or strategy ever do. Then shame puts on better clothes. It calls itself perfectionism. It convinces you that delay is intelligence and that caution is maturity, when in reality, you are just trying to avoid being seen unfinished. You do not protect excellence, you protect the image. And while you worship that image, your real life remains trapped behind glass. Then it enters relationships. It makes disrespect feel familiar and genuine regard feel suspicious. It teaches you to confuse usefulness with love, silence with virtue, self-erasure with loyalty. It fills your life with negotiations where your dignity is always the first thing traded. You become easy to exploit because you have been trained to feel guilty for taking up space. And finally, the chain starts breaking the moment you understand that judgment is not automatically authority. Not every opinion deserves reverence. Not every room deserves access to your nervous system. Not every critic deserves a response. The audience loses power when you stop treating disapproval like a divine message. That is when shame begins to starve. This is the central lesson. Shame is not just a feeling that visits you. It is a hidden ruler that scripts your behavior, edits your identity, chooses your relationships, slows your ambition, and punishes your visibility. It makes you smaller before the world even asks. It turns life into performance. It turns desire into apology. It turns survival into personality. But once you see the mechanism, it becomes harder to worship it. Once you catch shame trying to speak in your voice, it loses some of its camouflage. And once you stop kneeling before illegitimate judgment, your life begins to reorganize around something stronger than fear, not comfort, authority. Most people will spend their entire lives inside this prison and never call it by name. They will call it caution. They will call it humility. They will call it being realistic. But beneath all of it is the same old fear. The fear of being seen without disguise. The fear of being judged without protection. The fear of standing in full view and surviving the verdict. Do not go back to sleep after seeing this. Watch the next time you over-explain. Watch the next time you shrink to keep a room comfortable. Watch the next time you hesitate, not because the move is wrong, but because being visible feels dangerous. That is shame reaching for the wheel again. Catch it there, not later. There, because the person who cannot be easily shamed becomes very difficult to control, harder to manipulate, harder to domesticate, harder to reduce. And in a world built on silent obedience, that kind of person is rare. That kind of person is also free. Like, if this exposed something you have been living under without naming, subscribe if you want more weapons against the hidden forces that govern human behavior. Comment shame if you are done letting invisible judgment write your life.